have you tried sewing with double gauze? I love this fabric base so much, but it's also like sewing a marshmallow in a wind tunnel. It's soft, it's squishy, and it's determined to stuff up your nice, neat, straight lines. So I took on this fabric frenemy once again to make the Ellery Dress by Swim Style Patterns. Now this is a pattern that promises easygoing, floaty, boho, cottagecore vibes. All those things. But was my double gauze sewing struggle worth it? Or did I lose my temper several times along the way? Let's find out if this pattern is a sew or a skip. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate and this is Ripper Seams. So today we're going to be talking about this lovely dress here. It is the Ellery Dress, which is a design by Swim Style Patterns. Now this particular pattern caught my attention because we are about to hit the second part of the Great British Heat Wave here this year. And yeah, it gets pretty hot and you want to be wearing nice, airy, loose fitting clothing in this type of weather. And this dress is exactly that. Even more so if you make it out of a really nice, floaty, breathable double gauze. So that's exactly what I did here. Barbara is modeling my completed dress. It is all done. And today's video, we're going to talk about the pattern. We're going to give the pattern a review because it's the first time I made it. I thought I'd share with you all the details as well as my experience in sewing it up. Now, like I mentioned, this is a pattern by Swim Style, which is an Australian company. It's a mother and daughter team-up collaboration, and they make beautiful, lovely, relaxed styles, very Australian and yeah, very modern. I really like their silhouette. Now, from the Swim Style website, I absolutely love the look of this dress. It is a relaxed, slightly oversized baby doll style. It's got those lovely ruffled tiers in there and those beautiful big romantic sleeves kind of dropped off the shoulder, really fluttery and really flowy, just absolutely gorgeous. Now, when I first went through all the patterns on the Swim Style website, this one here I absolutely loved, but I kind of went past it because I didn't think this particular style of dress, this baby doll silhouette, was something that would particularly suit my particular figure. I tend to like a bit of shape to my dresses, and that's pretty much where a lot of the dresses I have made recently have failed. However, it just so happened that my husband walked past just as I was on that page and he went, "Ooh, that would look really great on you." And of course, that got stuck in my head and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should try it. Maybe this is something for me. And I will just say, I trust my husband completely on when he says something would look good on me or not. So yeah, I do tend to jump outside my comfort zone when he thinks there's a good reason for doing so. So yeah, I added the Ellery Dress to my basket. I bought it, it's in my collection, and I just hoped that my husband was right. So yes, we are lucky to have Barbara here modeling my finished make, just so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about. We definitely have a baby doll style going on. We have two ruffled tiers making up the skirt section. We have a high neckline which has a bias binding detail to it. The sleeves are dropped, and then you have these beautiful big kind of ruffled puffy sleeve ends, very romantic, very piratey, boho, all those things. And we have a lovely elasticated cuff. Now, because the bodice section does incorporate part of the sleeve, we do have a nice bit of curving going on as we go under the arm and into the waistline. This is great because it does actually give you a little bit of shaping by doing that. Let's spin Barbara around. Now, there's no tricky fastenings going on here. That bias binding comes around and it actually creates the tie back. Easy access into your dress. Now, I haven't tried this yet, but having just done that, I'm just wondering whether this dress could be reversible where you have these ties at the front. I might give it a go. It could be nothing. Now, this dress is marked at an intermediate skill level, and I tend to agree with that. Now, whilst there isn't anything tricky going in regards to fastening, there's no buttonholes you have to do, there's no zips to install and so on. All the ruffling detail that goes on here and the way it's constructed as per the pattern instructions, it needs a bit of kind of sewing know-how in there as well as a bit of sewist intuition. So if you've not developed those things yet, you might struggle a little bit. However, there is a sew-along video available for you by Swim Style Patterns. They have a link on their website. There's a special section where they have all their sew-alongs, which also links through to YouTube. So you should be able to watch that either way if you need a bit of assistance. Really like it when pattern companies create their own videos to support the patterns that they're putting out there. Very much appreciated. Oof, it's hot in here. So a nice airy floaty style dress of course requires appropriate fabrics. The dress has been designed for woven fabrics and the bases that they recommend is cheesecloth, double gauze, light linens, anything nice and floaty. It doesn't specifically mention rayon or viscose. I think this dress would actually suit that quite well. I would like to try that myself in future because yeah, I struggled a little bit with the double gauze. Oh, and of course the size range. So this pattern in particular runs from a size extra small through to a triple extra large. That is a bust of 32 inches for the extra small and 44 going up to that triple extra large. Now for me personally, I ended up going for a large to make this particular version. Really hard to tell whether or not I could have gone down for this or whether I'm at the right size. As a first time make, it's really hard to determine whether that was going to be the right size for me because I didn't want it to be too oversized, because unfortunately there are no finished garment sizes on the pattern instructions, which is a little bit frustrating. So you really are left to your own devices to go and measure the pattern pieces to make sure that you are happy with the amount of ease in the areas that you're concerned with. For me, it is generally always around the waist, particularly, like I said, I prefer to have a bit of shaping. And I think having made this, I probably could have made a size medium, or at least graded to a medium at the waistline. Obviously, because of the tiered ruffle skirt, there is a lot of ease in that bottom skirt section. Wasn't too worried about that. It was more about what it was looking like around my waist, but we'll get into that as we go into my finished make. So if you're interested in making this for yourself and not too sure about the ease that you want, you might want to make a 12 for this one. Now for all size ranges, it does recommend 3 meters of fabric. That's exactly how much I used. I pretty much used all of it. I only had I got some decent scraps out of it, but nothing, nothing extensive. So yeah, if you are sewing the larger sizes, you might want to just double check that you've got enough fabric. The only other things that you're going to need is bias tape, and I'll got more to say about that, but also you're going to need 6mm elastic for the cuffs, just about 1/2 meter for that one. Obviously your matching thread and no interfacing required. Now let's just return to that comment about the bias tape. Now it mentions in the notions that you need bias tape. Now I personally think they should have given a bit more detail about the bias tape a lot earlier in the instructions that they did, because as you read through the instructions you find that the bias tape is actually visible on the outside. So if you're going to use a plain bias tape on a pattern fabric, it might stand out a bit more than you want to. So they do actually recommend that you make your own, but the instructions on how to do so are really far down in the pattern, and there's no pattern piece for it. So there's only 5 pattern pieces in the total for this dress. Really simple overall, but I really wish they had included a pattern piece to make the bias tape, particularly if you want that bias tape to be in the same fabric as your main dress. Because I was going to make pre-made bias tape, but as I was reading through the instructions, just as I was about to make it, I realized, oh, actually, I need it out of my main fabric, and I only really had scraps left, and I was really worried I wasn't going to be able to do it, particularly because it's cut in the bias and you need a lot of room to be able to cut that out. Not having a pattern piece means you have a lot of math and ruling and measuring to be done, and throw in cutting that out of double gauze, which is like really moving and squishy and yeah, not fun. So yeah, that was maybe a little tantrum that I might have had. But I did it, it's totally fine. I managed to cut it in one big long piece just. So yeah, I do recommend cutting out your own bias binding piece ahead of time and including it in your pattern layout before you cut everything out. So those are the details of the Ellery Dress pattern. Let's see how all that translated to this particular make here. So time to dive into my particular version of this make, find out my experience of sewing this one up, and of course I'll give you my ripper seams ratings and have a backyard catwalk at the end, so stick around. So let's talk about my fabric choice, and of course this is all about the double gauze. So if all my clothing from now well into the future was made out of double gauze, I would be a very happy girl. It is soft, it is squishy, it is like being hugged by a cloud. I love it, and it's just perfect for hot weather. So when it came to this dress, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to make it out of double gauze. The only thing is, the last time I made something out of double gauze, I didn't enjoy it. Yep, I made this saguaro set by Friday Pattern Company out of this dead stock double gauze in this lovely deep green color. I got the fabric from Rainbow Fabrics. It is dead stock, and whilst I enjoyed the make, it was the first time I was using double gauze, and I started to realize how hard it is to sew marshmallow. Yeah, the fabric when you're cutting it out doesn't like to stay still, so you end up with slightly lopsided pieces, which is unfortunate. The fabric is really squishy under your sewing machine foot, so it does tend to bulge and bubble a little bit. It's hard to sew those straight lines. A walking foot is recommended. Oh, and yeah, it frays a lot, so you do really have to make sure you finish off your edges. Now, whilst it's cotton and it holds an iron press really well, it puffs up. It just quickly loses that straight line if you get it wet, even remotely, like a little spray of starch. Nope, it doesn't like it. And of course, just the nature of the fabric, it's all kind of crinkled up, but as it kind of warms up and loosens, it does grow. So in the case of my saguaro pants, yeah, the crotch just ended up around my knees, and yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. So yeah, anyway, that's that make. But despite all those dramas I had that time around, I revisited here because this is a bit more of a simple design, and if the fabric grew, it kind of was going to go along with the actual make itself. It was like appropriate. So this overall is a knee length. You can't actually see Barbara's knees, mainly because she doesn't have them, but obviously it's been cut off. Backyard Catwalk will help you out with this, but it is knee length, and I actually really like it that length. I wouldn't want it longer, I wouldn't want it shorter. So yeah, at the moment it's fine. If it does grow, I won't be mad at it. So the double gauze I've chosen this time is also a dead stock fabric, but this one is from Wasted Fabrics. I got this one within one of their sales they did when it was like 50% off or something. So this one really only ended up at £5 a meter. Now I must confess, I did hesitate on whether I should buy this fabric or not, because I absolutely love this gorgeous ditzy rose print. It is on this cream base. The flower detail on here is gorgeous, but it's gorgeous when it's close up. If you look at it from a distance, like you probably are now, I had this fear. I had this fear that from a distance, it might look like I've emerged from a murder scene. I mean, like, it does look a little bit like it could be blood splatter. That could be just me seeing that. So I was a little bit worried about how this turned out. So I have asked a few people whether I should be making the dress up, particularly in this. I got told it was fine. And to be honest, if anyone's walking away from me and sees it as something other than beautiful roses, then I'm probably not going to talk to them anyway, and I don't care. Anyone who comes up will see the beautiful, beautiful ditzy rose print on here. It's very cottagey, floral. I love it. It's so pretty. And yeah, we decided to go ahead with this fabric. This fabric is made in Italy. It is extremely good quality. This dress has been laundered since I made it. It's come up really nicely. The texture is absolutely divine. Comparing this double gauze to that of which I made the saguaro set out of, this is definitely, it's a much nicer double gauze fabric. It is really, really soft and nice. This one here is a bit harsher, a bit more crinkly. So yeah, what I got from Wasted Fabrics is definitely really, really good quality. So yeah, that was my fabric choice for this make, and I'm owning it. So for this particular make, I did only use the written pattern instructions that came with the PDF. I didn't refer to the video, even though I know they have a video on there. I had a quick look earlier, and yeah, it looks like it's a pretty comprehensive video, so it should be all right if you do need to reference that. So when it comes to the instructions, I think generally they're very, very good. You will end up with a finished dress just as it should by following them. I've got no problem with that. I just wish that some of the steps were in slightly different order. For example, the stay stitching, which is needed for all the neckline pieces. The instruction to do this doesn't appear until just before you're about to insert the bias binding. You actually construct the bodice, attach the sleeves before it tells you to do the stay stitching. All the manipulation of the fabric as you're putting the bodice together, including the sleeves, it kind of just does kind of pull those neckline pieces. And if you're using double gauze, that of course is going to add to some of the fraying potential. So I just wish that the very first step in the instructions was to do the stay stitching around the neckline, because I did actually query at the start going, we're not stay stitching. But nope, it's there. It's just very far into the instructions, and I think it could have been earlier. The one thing that I did find tricky was the instructions about constructing this neckline here with the bias binding. So there's two different ways that they describe how to do this, and to be honest, I got a bit confused by both. Initially, I thought this bias binding was actually going to be hidden underneath the neckline there, like you probably would do a bias binding, but no, the bias binding is designed to stand up, and you are to stitch the ditch to secure it at the bottom layer. Yeah. Double gauze and bias binding are not friends, and this is where most of my swearing occurred. Trying to get a nice consistent piece of bias tape out of double gauze at the ironing board was a nightmare. It kept unraveling on me. It wasn't holding. Ugh, gritting my teeth just thinking about it. But as a result, my neckline is a little bit rubbish, but it is consistently rubbish because it goes a bit thicker here. It thins off, but then it thickens up again, so it looks a bit intentional, and I'm taking that as a win. So despite the drama I had with this, despite me being very unhappy with how I inserted that, because unpicking double gauze is a nightmare. I did not want to do it. If it had gone thin, thick, thick, thin, thin, thick along there, yeah, tantrums would have been had. But no, like I said, we are consistently rubbish. I can get away with it, it's fine. So everything to do with the bias binding in regards to this make was my bugbear. It's the thing that irritated me the most, but we got it done, it's on the dress and it works as it's meant to. So yeah, we're fine. Oh yeah, and just one more thing about the instructions. I've read through them several times. Once I realize it's missed, I will go through, make sure I haven't missed it. Is it my overview? But I could not find any instruction on there to finish your hem. It tells you to finish all the raw edges of your skirt pieces as you're making it up. But you read that as, I'm gonna overlock my raw edges. And it wasn't until it says, oh yes, now you're finished, you can now press your dress and enjoy it. And I went, so what are we doing with the hem? Because I basically had a raw overlocked hem at the bottom of my skirt. I did not read the instruction about finishing the hem as, oh, by the way, you might want to turn it up so you've got a nice clean hem at the bottom. So yeah, just a heads up, make sure you finish off your hem, do a little turn up. I've just turned mine up 1 centimeter and just secured it into place. No biggie, but it doesn't actually mention to do that in the pattern. I just think that's an oversight, but just a call out, that part of the instructions missing. So yeah, I didn't want to take any more length off this skirt than I had to. So yeah, 1 centimeter was just fine, and because I had already overlocked the edge, it's fine. So those are my main callouts in regards to making this pattern up using the pattern instructions. Now, whilst I did list a few things there, overall as a make, it was totally fine. I managed to get through it. I understood it because I've been sewing for a couple of years now, had that sewist intuition going on. I've had some experience making other similar designs, so I kind of know what might be better and so on. So yeah, just up to you. Read through the instructions obviously before you start making it. Decide what things you might want to change or swap out in regards to techniques. Yeah, it's the world's your oyster really when it comes to making your own clothes. The resulting product was pretty much great. My only issue is once again with the double gauze. I hate cutting out fabric for the most part, but when it comes to double gauze, that stuff likes to slide around underneath those pattern pieces. And I can tell you now, despite best efforts to keep everything aligned, when I actually pulled the cut out pieces of fabric from my bodice, there was a full-on crescent shape happening around this waist here. So this wasn't straight. The actual tiers of my skirt weren't too bad. So as a result of my hemline being a bit wonky, which funnily enough happened on both the front and the back pieces for some reason. You look at the pattern pieces, they're straight. When I cut them out, they were curved. I don't know how that happened. I clearly need some help with figuring out the best way to cut out double gauze. So if you are a bit more experienced with cutting out double gauze and you have the secrets of cutting this fabric out perfectly, do let me know down in the comments. I highly predict that it's going to involve weighing down the fabric quite a lot and then using a rotary cutter rather than scissors. That is my gut feeling. So if you've got some insights, let me know down in the comments. Let me know, because I really do want to make this dress again in double gauze, but I want to make sure that I don't cut my pieces out wonky next time. So yeah, I'd appreciate any insights that you can share. So I don't know if you can tell on Barbara here, but this line does kind of rise a bit as you go to the center of the waist, and then it dips back down again. Because this was cut in the fold, it is at least symmetrical, but it also means that the front of the skirt is actually shorter than the back, because whilst the back was also a little bit wonky, it wasn't as bad as the front. I probably could have gone in and straightened that off. I was just worried that this was going to be short, and because it's a bit more cottagecore boho vibe, sometimes a bit of up-downy bit in the hem isn't going to be really noticed. It might actually be seen as part of the design. So yeah, I just winged it and hoped it was going to be okay. Which brings us to whether or not I actually like this dress on me or not, especially given that this was one I was going to pass by, but I did get sucked in by the comments my husband made about how he thought this would suit me. In the large size, in this loose baby doll style dress, does it suit me? Technically, no. It is somewhat tent-like. However, big caveat here. This dress looks awesome with a belt. So whilst I haven't got a belt on Barbara here, I will show you on the Backyard Catwalk how I will be wearing this dress going forward, because I love it. This is my type of style. I really love the top bodice section. In fact, I'm actually very tempted, and I probably will make this as a top. I'm just going to extend that torso because those beautiful sleeves are in a double gauze. Absolutely divine. I loved it, but I kept going. I made it into a dress, but going forward, I will definitely make this into a top. It's got that real boho vibe going on, which I absolutely love. I do think that suits me. So yeah, adding a belt like this absolutely transformed this make in something which was, yeah, it's okay, into, yes, awesome, I'm going to wear this all the time, especially given all the hot weather that's about to hit. Whilst we've got long sleeves here, double gauze is incredibly light. It is very airy and breathable, so you really don't get really sweaty in there, and because it's 100% cotton, it's just going to wick out of you. Obviously, the style also is very accepting. You're going to get the air circulating in there as well. This dress I absolutely love, and I got a comment from my husband that he thinks this is the best thing that I've made so far. So whilst the original silhouette of the Ellery dress wasn't exactly my cup of tea, doing something simple like adding a belt just totally transformed this dress for me and elevated it into something I really want to wear almost every single day. So this is a good reminder that if you've made something and you don't think it suits you entirely, a bit unsure about it, just accessorize it, chuck on a belt, chuck on a scarf, do something with it to kind of change it up and change the shape of it. Give yourself a waist, whatever you need to do to see if there is a way that you can make it. Like I said, a bit baggy for me around the waist, but chuck that belt in, cinches it in, winner. Now I will throw back to the Nancy dress, which I made a couple of videos ago, because that too was a slightly oversized empire line dress. No amount of styling was going to fix that for me, because it wasn't just the shape of the dress, it was the fact that A, the sleeves weren't working for me, but also I really didn't like the fabric for that particular dress. It will get reused in another make, that's its future, but it's very a different situation to what we've got going here. I love the fabric, I love the style of this dress, it just needs a belt from me. So with all that said, let's give the Ellery dress by Swim Style Patterns some Ripper Seams ratings. So first up we have brain friendliness, and I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 happy brains. So everything I said before is obviously contributing to that score. However, the pattern is for an intermediate sewist, so you should have some level of experience under your belt to know that you maybe should do your stay stitching earlier, that you should make sure you do the hem, and to be able to tackle that bias binding neckline successfully. It's not overly tricky, but I do think there's some instructions in there that are missing or maybe in the wrong order, so that's kind of what's contributing to that score. But overall, a good make, and you'll end up with a beautiful dress by the end of it. When it comes to fit, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Generally, the fit is quite nice, but the sizing for me, I think I was okay with the large. I will most likely make this again and make the medium next time. I just wish there were some finished garment measurements in the pattern instructions itself, so you can better gauge the amount of ease you might want in this particular make. And that leaves us with the overall lovableness rating. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 otters. Now, while this is a dress which I think turned out lovely, I really like wearing it, I think it looks really nice, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I just think my particular finish on it could have been better. Like I said, I was really wonky with my actual lines when it was cutting out, so I just think I need to spend a bit of time making sure I learn how to cut out double gauze better, because it is a frenemy. It is a love-hate relationship with it. I really love it, but there is so much you need to keep in mind when you're sewing double gauze. I just need more experience with it, and that will come in time. So yes, 4 lovable otters for my version of this beautiful Ellery dress. So let's take this dress off Barbara, put it on me, and take it out onto the backyard catwalk.
Aha, surprise! Not my backyard, but a lovely grassy wildflower meadow near me, which I thought would be the perfect place to show off my Ellery dress. So let's start with these beautiful romantic flowy sleeves. I absolutely love the gathering detail on the top side of this drop shoulder. These sleeves look great when they're fully down. However, it is 32 degrees Celsius filming this, so yeah, those sleeves are going straight back up. I also love the delicate ruffled skirt tiers hitting right at the top of my knees. It's very feminine and a really pretty dress overall. But let's take a look at this dress without the belt. I mean, like, it's not too bad, but it definitely moves away from that boho vibe and more into that cottagecore territory. That wonky hem is also a bit more obvious now too, and I think if this was cut straight to begin with, I would have liked it a bit more, so lesson learnt for next time. But let's get that belt back on there. Yes, I did pick the most complicated belt I own, but it is also the cutest. Ta-da! Back to a dress that is definitely a bit more me. I absolutely love it, and this is definitely one to sew.
So there we go, that is my review of the Ellery Dress by Swim Style Patterns. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then please go and give me a thumbs up down below. It just lets me know I'm doing a good job and I should keep making videos just like this one. Of course, let me know down in the comments what you thought of my version of the Ellery Dress. Plus, if you've got any hints, tips, or anything you've got to make sewing with double gauze easier, it's going to help me out. It's going to help everybody else out there who is wanting to know those secrets as well. So yeah, go ahead, comment down below. And finally, if you've been watching Ripper Seams videos for a while now and you haven't subscribed, then do please consider doing so. Go on, click that subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any future Ripper Seams videos. And with that, I wish you a wonderful week of sewing and I'll see you in the next video.